Hello, welcome back to another revision lesson with me. Now I'm going to touch on the P5 topic on plant and human respiratory system. Now let's get started. So, as usual, if you'd like to try the questions, you can go to the description box below and click on the link to download the questions. Now, if you'd like to see the answers will also be available for you to download. Of course, please try the questions first. And of course, as always, if you find that this content is helpful, please give me a like. That will greatly encourage me to carry on doing this for you. Now, Prague carried out an experiment shown in the diagram below. After a few hours, he observed the dish of lime water from the setup. Now, what's the purpose of lime water? Now, as you are familiar, lime water, right? This is used as a test for carbon dioxide. And you know that it is usually colorless. But if there's carbon dioxide, that will become cloudy or chalky. If there is carbon dioxide in the presence of CO2. So, and you know the plant in this process where it of photosynthesis, it will take in carbon dioxide. So this one, during photosynthesis, CO2 is taken in. Now, of course, you will learn about photosynthesis when you are in P6. Alright, so you may not know this yet, but you do know that plant is a living thing. So during respiration, like all living things, it will give out carbon dioxide, just like you and I. Okay. Now, what's also important here is that this is a plant, and a plant is a special living thing that makes food when there is light. And since the jar that the plant is in is coated with black paint, the idea of this black paint is to do what? It is to stop light from entering the jar, so the plant cannot make food. So in this question, it's not about photosynthesis, but rather it is about respiration. Okay? Now, lime water is a colorless liquid. When carbon dioxide enters lime water will turn from colorless to cloudy, as we talk about it above here. So what is Prague's observation of the lime water after a few hours, and explain why this happened? So this question here, there are two questions. First is to state what I'm supposed to state. State his observation, and secondly, explain. So there are two parts to this. One is state, one is to explain. So what happened after a few hours? Well, if the plant continued to give out carbon dioxide during respiration, there'll be more and more carbon dioxide. Lime water will turn chalky. So let's answer the first one on the stating part. Okay, so lime water will turn chalky. We just use the words here, turn cloudy after a few hours. Alright, that should give me the first 1 mark. Now how about the second 1 mark? Because we're supposed to explain why that happened. So let's try to explain this now. Well, the plant is a living thing that gives out carbon. Now we cannot use short form like CO2, okay? We've got to spell it out. Dioxide during respiration. Right? And that should be enough to get second 1 mark. Now, of course, even the word respiration, you are not required to learn it in your primary school science syllabus anymore. So if you just say that the plant is a living thing that gives out carbon dioxide, that is good enough for the second 1 mark. Now let's go to the next question. So the second part of the question is here. Prague decided to carry out another experiment to record his breathing rate for a period of time in a day. Now, what do you know about rate in your math lesson? Rate is like how many times something can be done per unit. For example, how many times can you write the word I love science in 1 minute? How many of this phrase can you write? I love science, I love science, I love science. That is your rate. How many times can you run on the spot in 1 minute? So that is a rate. So here, what is his breathing rate for a period of time? So how many times can he breathe per unit time? So he recorded it from 1 p.m. in the afternoon to 7 p.m. in the evening. He went about his daily activities. He then plotted the following line graph using the data he collected. So look at the graph. The y-axis here shows breathing rate, breath per minute. So it's like he recorded for 1 minute, how many breaths per minute. And then of course, this is tracking over time. As you can see, at certain times it went very high. Alright, breath per minute was very high here at about 27, 28 breaths per minute. And that is in the evening at this time. And sometimes it's very low. And here it goes to 0 breaths per minute. That's interesting. Okay, firstly, I think there's something wrong in the graph here. It shouldn't go to 0 breaths per minute unless he was holding his breath. Because if it's 0 breaths per minute, it means that he is not alive anymore, right? Okay, so it shouldn't go to 0 breaths per minute at 7 p.m. Most likely, if this happened, you should raise your hand and ask the teacher. And this can also mean, well, arguably he could have held his breath for 1 minute. I think it's possible to hold your breath for 1 minute. Although it's really weird that happens. Okay. Now, he was playing basketball for 1 hour. So the idea here, basketball is a vigorous activity. Alright, so let's understand what does playing basketball mean? This is a vigorous activity. And as you know from your PE lesson, when you are doing vigorous activities, your breathing rate increases. So that means that should be the period of time here when he's having his vigorous activity is when his breathing rate starts to increase. So I think it is this period of time from 4 to about 5 plus p.m. Okay, this period of time is when the breathing rate increased up to this point. But I can't tell exactly what time it is, 5 something. So 1 hour period, and we asked for a 1 hour period. So this is a 2 hour period. So 1 hour period, I think I can safely say between 4 to 5, you see, his breathing rate increased. So I think it's quite safe to say, alright, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., he was playing basketball. He made a mistake in a part of his line graph. Now we know why he was at 0. Because there was a mistake in the line graph. Which 1 hour period shows that he was incorrect? I will say that it is this 1 hour period here that is incorrect. Okay, it's this 1 hour period here that is incorrect. And why is it incorrect? Well, as explained earlier on, the breathing rate cannot go to 0. Okay, unless he is not alive or he's holding his breath. So it's this 1 hour period. So first, there are again 2 parts to the question. You must be very alert to these things. 2 parts. The first part is, right, you are supposed to state, right, which 1 hour period is the first question. And the second one is the explain part. So let's answer the first part. Which 1 hour periods? And that will be our first claim. The 1 hour period is from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And that should give me let's see if that gives you any mark. I think this should be deserving of half a mark. Usually there are no marks for claims, but in this case, because you cannot get the claim easily, so I think it's deserving of half a mark. Explain the answer. Well, simply breathing rate of a human being who is alive cannot go to 0. Or you can say that breathing rate cannot be 0 unless he is no longer alive. Alright? So either one of these should be enough for you to get the other half mark. So this or this, okay? Either one, this or that one. So let me just color code it correctly so you can see it. Remember, this is this or that, and there are two ways you can write it, but the idea is the same. Living things, they are alive, cannot have 0 breathing rate. We're referring to things like animals. Now let's go on to the next one. Now this is a quick recap. So if you ask for a respiratory system, right? You know the basic parts will be your nose. Air comes in from your nose, goes down the windpipe. Nose goes to the windpipe, and then finally enter the lungs, where the gaseous exchange happens. So nose is where this part is, windpipe is this part, and your lungs will be here. Now the function you must know as well. Nose is where you take in and you give out take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. And the purpose of the respiratory system, right? The purpose of it, right? Let me just click on this real quick. So the purpose or the function of this, all right, is to take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. That's the whole idea of our circulatory system. So air enters the body through part X. This part is true. They ask for true statement. Sometimes they ask for false statement, so must be very careful. So they ask for true statement. Gaseous exchange takes place at part Y. No, that is not true. Gaseous exchange happens in the lungs. Part Z helps it to take in oxygen and remove carbon dioxide. This is true. Alright, the oxygen is taken in, it absorbed into our bloodstream through the blood vessels inside the lungs. And those special blood vessels are in these places what we call the air sacs. Now part Y, which is the windpipe, remove the dust. No, that's wrong. I stop here because I know the nose is the part that removes the dust. Because of your nostril hair, you have to trap the dust. So I know that A and C are correct. So the answer is A and C. Okay, and the last question here. Now this is from the plants. Now for plants, it's a little bit like a human being. For us, we have our nostrils. For plants, they have the stomata. The stomata is where you have the air entering and leaving the plant. Now Salvador plucked a leaf from a plant. He placed in a beaker of hot water. After 5 minutes, he observed more bubbles form on the upper surface of the leaf than the lower surface. And bubbles tells us there are some air coming out, right? And what it could be this in this air? Well, we know that usually there are more stomata on the upper surface of a leaf. Usually, okay, wrong spelling here. Alright, and we know that the gaseous action that happens at the stomata, right? There will be oxygen given out during photosynthesis. And we know here that it seems to be, there are no mention whether it's daytime or nighttime. So I'm going to assume it's the daytime, which means there's light. And beaker, they didn't mention it being covered with anything or painted black. So beaker is glass, so I'll assume light can pass through and reach the plant. So I will say that then, well, photosynthesis is happening and the plant is giving out oxygen. So let's see which of the statements are correct. Bubbles form in the water and land on the surfaces. So this part formed in the water is wrong. It's formed in the stomata of the leaves. Okay, this is wrong. Now, air escapes through openings found only on the upper surface. Only, this word only is the mistake here because it's also found on the lower surface. You see, this is a bit like comprehension, right? Bubbles form on the lower surface. It's just there's less there. So this part here, this part is wrong. The leaf has more openings on the upper surface than the lower surface. Definitely it's true because the question says so. If there are more bubbles on the upper surface, there will be more openings on the upper surface. So this is correct. Let's be thorough and check the last one. Air enters the leaf from the lower surface and escapes from the upper surface. That is not true. We know that air enters the leaf through the stomata. Whether the stomata is on the upper or lower surface, air can enter it. So the answer for this is number 3. Well, I hope this helped you to revise your plant and human respiratory system. I hope your revision turns out well. Take care. I'll see you in the next video. As usual, if you think this is helpful, please drop me a like. And in the comments below, if you have some questions for me or there are other videos you'd like me to work on, let me know the topic or the concept. Goodbye for now.